All right. Well, I've got 6:34. We're going to call the regular meeting of the Common Council to order. We'll start with the roll call, please.
Seth,
Here.
Andrew,
Here.
Todd Kirking,
Here.
Emma,
Here.
Todd Spade,
Here.
Cindy,
Here.
John,
Here.
Tanya,
Here.
Steve,
Here.
and Justin.
Here. Pledge of Allegiance. Item number 2 is approval of the October 28th, 2025 regular council minutes.
Steve, I move approval. Dino, second it.
Got a motion, a second. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item number 3, council announcements. Any member of the council have anything they wish to bring up? Now would be the time.
Since today is Veterans Day, I'd like to just thank every member of the community that's a veteran and that served our country and say thank you. And also thanks to your families.
Very good. Thank you. Anything else? I'd like to welcome Tanya. So,
Glad
where'd
to be
you come
back.
from? Yeah, welcome. So, anything else? All right. Item number 4 is first period for public comment. Any members of the public wish to make a public comment? Now would be the time. Please come up to the podium, state your name, address, and try to keep your comments to about 3 minutes. Just a little person. If you push, your light will turn green. There you go.
Hi, my name is Lydia Shara, formerly Clark, and I live at 514 East Court Street. I think it's Emma's ward. And I have just a request, I think. I've lived here since 2007. I'm a small business owner. And during that time, I've seen senior centers come and go and different projects. I really don't know what all is on the table for you, but when Quillen's closed, I thought, oh, what a great idea for a community center. But I talked to Sue Noble and I realized that's like very large undertaking. So I do see a need, especially for a senior center. And she also talked about the space at the library. And in the meantime, there was also an idea there for pickleball, for indoor pickleball. And I think that's pretty much been tabled for now, as far as I know. But then I drove past the old fire station and I wondered if you had already a designated purpose for that, because I started playing pickleball in January and I've been really impressed by how VAPA, the Viroqua Area Pickleball Association, and the Park and Rec have been working in tandem. And it's been just a huge blessing. And I think it really draws a lot of people in the community together. So I've had just a really great experience with that. But we're right now in the middle school and it really is kind of, we're grateful for that space, but it's not ideal. And so I just wanted to make that request. If there's any way that the city can partner with Park and Rec, and I see that there's an outdoor, Emma mentioned the outdoor plan, but we have a lot of winter months that that's not possible to play outdoors. So my request would be if there's that space or a different space that you would put that into consideration for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to make a public comment? Anybody online?
I think you're good,
All
man.
right, hearing none, we'll move on to item number 5, which is reappointment of Allison Mendoza to the Board of Review for a 5-year term expiring 4/1 of 2030.
Lori, do you want to cue that up?
I think this would be her second appointment on the Board of Review. The Board of Review only meets once a year. It's where you bring in the assessment. Like this year was a reassessment year. So you can meet the open book usually happens about a week ahead of time. And then if somebody wants to contest their assessment, the next step would take it to the Board of Review, which is kind of like a quasi group that can make the decision. That it's always, the assessor is always presumed correct, but they have the option of providing evidence and going before this board to And the board can make a decision whether they want to approve the assessor or they approve the resident. So it's kind of an important appointment, but she is very reliable and has a lot to add to that board. So I believe, and I asked her, and she is willing to do another 5-year term. So I'm happy with the results with her.
This is Todd. I'll make a motion to reappoint Allison Mendoza to the Board of Review for 5 years, expiring 4/1/2030.
Cindy, I'll second that.
Here we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, item number 6, review and approval of comprehensive outdoor recreation plan.
Okay, so Michael Smith from Studio GWA is with us. Ashley Sarver, also with Studio GWA, is online. They have been consultants working underneath sort of redevelopment resources, but really they've been the main group handling both the comprehensive outdoor rec plan and the historic preservation plan. So Michael is going to sort of walk us through it briefly. This document was sent out to you several times over its creation for your feedback and input and understanding and review and all that sort of stuff. So I would suggest that maybe tonight we don't need to do a page by page turn. But Michael is certainly here to give us a sort of a swift fly through of the document, and then of course open it up to the council if there's anything on there that we would like to have a discussion on. More than welcome to that, but we really want to hold most of the time for any discussion you would like to have versus kind of going through it page by page, because we'll be here for a long time if we were to do that. So
Yes.
And just so again everybody knows, like myself, Kale, our Park and Rec director, as well as Cindy, have formed the project team around these 3 plans, just because they kind of speak to all of our sort of specialties. And this comprehensive outdoor rec plan did go to Park and Rec last Tuesday for final review. They had some changes they would like to see made, mostly just corrections and things like that. But then forwarded it to this version that's on the screen right now, forwarded it to you for hopefully final approval tonight. Okay, if there's no questions right away, I'll kind of hand it over to Michael.
Awesome. Thanks, Nate. And good evening, everyone. Seeing familiar faces over the past several months. And as Nate mentioned, Ashley Sarver with Studio GWA is also on the call. She'll be speaking to kind of the first batch of each respective plan slides. And then I'll be speaking more towards the goals and the actions. But as you mentioned, we'll kind of keep things a flyover for all of them, try to live a little bit longer in the goals and actions slides. We'll stop halfway because there's 2 agenda items here. So Ashley, I'm going to turn it over to you and you just tell me when to advance.
Very good. Thanks. And thanks for having us back tonight. We'll go through these portions. I know some of this may look familiar. So just really kind of a briefing on how to navigate the plan, which of the plan, the first section is just the introduction of what is this plan? How does it work? This is a 5-year plan with recommendations that go out to the 10-year. And this really sets you in a good place for going after grants that specifically require that this plan is in place. Those are primarily at the state and federal level. So we'll talk through the inventory. Michael, if you go to the next slide there. In the community profile, this kind of just sets the base. It's a required part of the plan document of setting the context of what is Viroqua and what do you have in terms of outdoor recreational space. So we have the context, the transportation, city history, demographic profile, the geographic setting, and land use and zoning. And it's been really beneficial to kind of pair this effort with the comprehensive plan that's currently underway to share in those tasks and conversations, especially around land use and zoning. So that's been really a nice add to have these 2 happen at the same time. Section 3 is the inventory and looking at your parkland and your recreation programs. And so within that, we know that the city has 13 parks, about 110 acres. And then there are classifications for these parks, and those classifications break down really just into the 4 categories, which are, your mini parks, your neighborhood parks, community, and special use parks. Next slide. And this just kind of breaks down which is which. So you can see of the special use parks, some familiar names probably amongst all of these for you all. The community parks of Viroqua Park Bowl and Eckhart Park, really, big users, a big draw for the community in general. And then we will have smaller parks such as Court Street Park or Hanson Park that are, these smaller neighborhood parks kind of tucked within residential areas. We also did an inventory to look not only at the city-owned parks to understand what the city owns, but kind of the adjacent park facilities being school-owned facilities, privately owned facilities. Those are the primary ones within the city boundaries. There are no county or state-owned facilities within the community. But looking at those school-owned and private-owned, we know that those help fill some of the gaps and interests of the community apart from just the city parks. Next slide. And just on the community engagement, I think we've maybe shared this all with you before. We did pair this with the comprehensive plan, but we did community engagement a number of ways through a community survey, through focus groups, either group or kind of one-on-one conversations, as well as some on-site engagement activities we did some surveys at a baseball game and out in the community, as well as at the farmers market. We did attend a threefold Driftless meeting and then had a community meeting as well at City Hall. Next slide, please. And then here is just really the analysis. So we get deep into the maps. We, are outlining where all of the city-owned park facilities are and comparing them also against a level of service that, national guidelines put forward. So basically to understand how do you compare to other communities and what is best practice. So amongst your 13 total parks, we see that that actually exceeds your peers. So that's a good place to be in. You are park rich in that way. And then even beyond that, there's about 24 acres per 1,000 residents. And again, that's exceeding the guidelines, as well as most of your peer communities. Another, stat in that is that there are 323 residents per park, which is very low, meaning each resident can enjoy a lot of park. And then the map on the right is just showing you, the level of service for these areas. So mapping them out to see that most residential areas are within these clustered areas and have access to these parks. The areas that fall outside of this level of service you're actually at the northern end of the community and your more industrial sections of the community. And I would say the things that came forth, not only from the community engagement, but also from this analysis, is that because you do have a good amount of park space, the takeaway is really to maintain, improve, and retrofit what you have already, these existing facilities that you have, of just keeping them at a good, operable and maintained state. Should also note just one last point there about the population projection. So we did a projection of using just a 2% increase in population as an assumption through 2033, and seeing that even if population does increase, what you currently have would service that population.
And I would also say that 2% projection is at this point higher than what the comp plan is estimating. There's a couple data sources that they're using. The most common one is the State Department Administration, which only is going to factor in just births and deaths and not outlying factors like economic development, quality of life, attractants towards to the community. We think that 2% is pretty aggressive, but we wanted to kind of put it under a little stress. Even with that, I think the level of service is still quite high, meaning that, to an average resident, even if the population increases 2%, there should not be a tangible effect on the level of service as it's noted in this section. Cool, and thank you, Ashley. I'll cover the next slides here. So section 6 includes the vision statement, which supports 5 goals. Each goal has a series of objectives, and actions. And then we segment those actions in like two categories, just general recommendations and then park specific recommendations. Each action is then assigned a priority level and includes potential partners in an implementation table. We have discussed in a previous Park and Rec Committee meeting the vision statement. I'm really thankful for committee members' input on this, but there's also keywords that were shaped through focus groups, interviews, and community input as well. Things like we aim to create accessible, diverse recreational opportunities. Things I think that I wouldn't see probably in a typical corp, like promote environmental stewardship, celebrate our natural resources, developing safe, sustainable, inclusive outdoor spaces, celebrating our unique natural and cultural heritage. I think that that's becoming of the community and is truly reflective. As I mentioned, there are 5 goals. Each has a statement. I'll go through these briefly and not read them verbatim. The first goal is recreation opportunities, and the statement here is to expand and diversify recreation programs backed by a strong network of local partners. A few objectives of note here, working with the local business community and recreational groups, involving community members, coordinating with folks like the school district, the library. Your report has 8 actions associated with this goal. Goal 2 is parks, amenities, natural and cultural resources. The statement here is to provide safe, accessible, and well-maintained parks that promote civic pride and showcase natural and cultural features, with community partners playing a key role in park beautification and activation. 5 objectives here, including ensuring the CIP prioritizes replacement of damaged and outdated rec facilities and equipment, preserve and protecting surface waters, wetlands, woodlands to maintain wildlife habitat, enhancing sustainability in city-owned parks through native plantings, sustainable landscaping, and so on. There are 8 actions associated with this goal. Goal 3 is access and connectivity. The statement here is to build a safe, connected network of sidewalks, trails, and greenways, linking people to places, using a variety of communications to reach people more effectively. So this idea of access is kind of twofold, not just, moving through a space, but using communication tools as well to enhance access. Number of objectives here towards that end. And I will just say that the objectives and actions we aim to dovetail with the recently adopted bike ped plan as well, and try to call those out specifically of what is verbatim taken from the bike ped plan, just to make sure that that's they're coordinated. Goal 4 is operations and management. Statement here is to promote administrative excellence through efficient operations, talent attraction and retention, and sustainable funding. A number of objectives here, including participate in federal and state financial aid programs to increase accessibility and connectivity, utilize foundations and donations to fund our updated park amenities, providing adequate signage, developing a communication strategy that integrates multiple methods into one ecosystem. I think rightfully so, there are a lot of actions with this goal, 10 total in your report. And then last goal, park planning and development for goal 5. Design new facilities and retrofit existing facilities to advance safety, accessibility, and inclusion while securing new parkland, open space, and natural areas. Ashley did mention earlier that our takeaway in the analysis section was really prioritizing repair and replacement of outdated items rather than scoping or planning for new facilities. But it was also really important, really thankful for Nate and Cindy, KO committee members, to really sharpen this to say, well, but what if? What happens if we need a game plan if somebody comes to us to say, well, I have land I would like to donate, or the lease might expire with the dog park. What are we going to take on a dog park of our own somewhere, like just to make sure there's enough foresight to plan if there is new procurement of land. So you'll see some objectives and actions that are noted towards that end. The only other thing I'll mention here is in bullet 3 for the objectives, maintain a minimum of 17 acres of parkland per 1,000 residents. I'll just note you currently enjoy 24 acres of parkland. I think 17 is well above the national average. So we tried to use that as a good benchmark, which you can use your plan here for reference. Yes.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Mhm.
How would we figure that out?
Yeah, that's in the report in the analysis section. Yep. So we just haven't noted what you currently have, and then just track with population, particularly when the plan update occurs in 2031. So good to have it here as an objective. Two more slides here. We have general park recommendations and park specific recommendations. Both of the tables have a recommendation by priority level. And again, we try to forecast this out for 10 years. So it's roughly priority A, 1 to 3, priority B, 4 to 7, priority C, 8 to 10. And you see a potential partner list just in acronyms that are spelled out in a previous slide or page. And then finally, a list of park-specific recommendations that includes recommendations by priority level. The cells that are shaded green were ones that were called out by community members, folks saying, I want more restrooms or water fountains. Folks weren't specific in saying, I want this bench at this park. So just keep that in mind, but we try to at least align community input with particular actions. And with that, that's the conclusion of this presentation for the outdoor rec plan. Any questions or comments?
And I'm guessing Michael does have the full document available digitally if you want to look at a specific section. Again, you did a great job of breezing through, but we can look at specific items more if you would like. So questions from the group. Otherwise, Kayla and Cindy, again, were really involved in this. Obviously, Kayla is our in-house subject matter expert, did a lot of work on this plan. So Kayla, if you have anything you would like to jump in right away with, or if you want to wait to hear what questions may come, your call.
Yeah, I just, like Michael and Ashley mentioned, this plan was more on maintenance and updating what we currently have. So that was kind of the big push. And then just note too, excuse me, that the special event or special park, the golf course is in there with 80 acres of, so it really skews the number of parkland we actually have. So just note that too, when you're looking at the thing, that it says we have 10 acres of parkland, but golf course is a big portion of the parkland.
Yeah, and that's a good point. The NRPA, National Rec and Park Association, the typical range is like 6 to 11 acres per 1,000 residents. As I mentioned, there's 24.2 as it is. If you take out the publicly owned portion of the golf course, it brings it down to 5.8. However, I'll note that that 6 to 11 range is typically reserved for like communities 10,000 persons and up, right? So when I see something that's close to 6 at that 6 that bottom part of the threshold, NRPA is very quick to say these are not standards anymore because they were particularly onerous on smaller communities. So they really are more apt to use the phrase guidelines. So if I see 5.8 even factoring out the golf course, I still think that that's fairly acceptable, especially given the quantity of parks that are city-owned, not to mention school, privately owned facilities like Hubbard Hills and Prairie Wind. It just increases the level of service and access. So
Yeah.
a good point.
Just wanted to make that clear, but we are in a good place for the city, like Michael had mentioned, with Hubbard Hills, Prairie Wind, privately owned, accessible areas, so. I know in our Park and Rec meeting, Cindy, you had a bunch of questions, and did those all get answered? And
Yes, we met the next morning and walked through.
I'm just making sure they got answered, that's
Yeah,
all.
thank you.
Other questions? So we're wanting to approve this, then we'll move on to the next agenda item. Is that correct?
Yeah, we would be looking, and from Kale's perspective, you're good with the plan, feel confident in what's in there. He spent a lot of time, and I don't want to delay a vote, but Kale spent a lot of time going through the goals and recommendations and really trying to align them with what he saw. We brought in Dustin Stallsberg as well to get his viewpoint on this. So we took it through paces as well as multiple times through Park and Rec. And so we feel pretty good about where it's at, but we do want to make sure that council has buy-in for these plans and then is comfortable with what essentially is going to be somewhat of a strategic plan for Kale and the rest of the Park and Rec Committee to follow for the upcoming year. So just want to put that out there so everybody knows that when we come back and said, who decided we were going to do this? The answer would be you decided we were going to do this. Okay. So just want to make sure everybody's really comfortable with what we're doing here tonight.
Thanks, Dave.
Is there a plan for, with all of these comprehensive plans for, or what is the plan? I'm sure there's a plan. What is the plan for checking in regularly to make sure we're on task with our plan?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? It's great to make a plan, but if that it just sits, the old saying, if it just sits on a shelf collecting dust, what have you really accomplished? And so part of that is having the Park and Rec Committee hold staff accountable, and then vice versa. Kale saying, "Okay, folks, this is on the plate. We're going to do this now." And so it's a back and forth of understanding the plan exists, and we need to actively work towards it. And so part of that is up to the committee. What do they feel is an appropriate check-in timeline? Is it we would like an annual presentation about what progress has been made on the plan? That would probably seem sufficient. Maybe Kale's got some good ideas about what would be an appropriate interval for check-ins. But again, I think that is not prescribed within the plan. There are some prescriptions in the plan about updates of the plan. I think every 5 years you would look to update the plan. And that doesn't necessarily mean we need to bring in consultants again, although Studio GWA says like, well, maybe you do. But it certainly needs to be relooked at and refreshed periodically. I think there's maybe some prescription in there for that.
Yes, yeah, and really the 5-year timeline is a standard and a required element to maintain grant eligibility in the state. I think it was prudent of Viroqua to forecast out the implementation table for 10 years to basically stack the tasks, and it minimizes the update in 5 years, and also maybe lessens the need to have a consultant come out after 5 years if you already have a big list stacked. Or it's just, a nominal update, which is ostensibly less than to have a complete update from scratch, which I would maintain. This is, pretty curated. I don't think you would need something as robust like that for 5 years. It's an update.
So, Kay, I don't know if you want to add on to Tanya's question about what you would prescribe as regular check-in periods or any sort of monitoring.
Yeah, I think Nate kind of hit that on the head. I think just with the Park and Rec Committee, we got to keep this plan on the table and kind of work towards it every year and see what we can get done. As you guys know, it's a smaller staff. It's going to take some time to get some of these things down, but we're already making those partnerships with the school. And so things are going to be easier than others. So I think we just need to stay on top of it. And now that we have the plan, try to best implement it as we can.
I have a question as far as the grant funding and whatnot. Is this all contingent on Kale finding grants, or is this in conjunction with like when we do improvements to different roads that might see an opportunity for pedestrian greenways or what have you? Is that something that Sarah also uses this plan for?
Yeah, I think naturally, because so much of that accessibility portion ties into the bike ped plan, I think there's some cross-departmental understanding of what's here. And so Sarah can, I would assume, use both plans as fuel and ammunition for going after grants.
Okay.
Certainly when we're talking about new developments, the plan does help us understand, like, do we need more parkland as part of this development? What area are we looking at? And if there is grant funding tied to that, again, we have a document that supports the need for it. And any granting agency will feel more confident in providing money to us if they know we've really thought about it and have a plan in place. So short answer is yes.
Yeah, I guess I just want to make sure it was intergovernmental, different departments also saw the need for this.
Good. Any other questions? Not, I think we're looking for a motion to approve the plan.
Yeah, this is Steve. I make a motion, we approve the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan.
Cindy, I second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, item number 7, review and approval of historic preservation plan.
Cool. I'm gonna, similar to the previous slide deck, have Ashley speak to the first batch of slides and I'll come at the end. Ashley?
Yes, thank you. Glad to be a voice in the sky again here. Just walking through the plan, the first chapter on it again is just kind of what the plan is, why we're doing it, and how. Again, this is going to be a 2026 to 2031 historic preservation plan. We go through what preservation is and what it does, some of the benefits, summarize the community engagement, and then outline how to use the plan. Next slide. Chapter 2 is really about the historic context and the resources. So it is setting the scene of the history of Viroqua, and many thanks to Cindy and to Kristen Parrott who helped write this section. We spent some, good time in this to make sure things were accurate and reflective, and really it goes through all of the various chronological histories, starting with first the geographic setting, then talking and describing first peoples and early settlement through 19th century, and then we do 20th century growth and development before World War II, and then focus it on 20th century growth from 1945 to 1975, just because there are certain patterns of development that occur within those different decades. Within that, we also identified kind of an inventory of what you have already. So looking at your locally designated historic landmarks, you have a good number of local landmarks, 33. And so this map would show where those are located and what they are. 15 of these are either individually listed on the National Register or contributing to a National Register district. So not only the local designation, but also the National Register designation, which is a nice honor to have both of those titles. 23 of these are also cataloged in the Wisconsin Architecture Historic Inventory. Next slide, please. So this is just looking at the National Register components, the historic buildings and the districts on the National Register. We have 4 properties individually listed on the National Register, and then we have 1 National Register historic district. That's the downtown district you see on the map there. And then we have 24 properties contributing to that National Register district. So a good number of buildings with historic integrity still remaining and standing within Viroqua. Chapter 3 looks at policies, partners, and programs associated with current efforts. So we're looking more at how is preservation being promoted and what are the policies around it. Within this section, we have program administration, the different components, a review of current incentives and financial programs that exist, whether it's local, state, or national, what's being done for education and outreach, as well as who are the partners and stakeholders within this effort. Chapter 4 is on the community engagement. We talked a little bit about that. Again, we paired these efforts for historic preservation with the efforts made for the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan and the comprehensive plan itself. One of the things I think just worth noting in here is that there was interest from community members to just see, I think, a kind of a practical approach to preservation, of wanting to see historic buildings maintained, but also really excited for their reuse. Not preservation just for its sake, but also seeing it as an economic development tool, which is great. Next slide, please. I'll hand that over back to you, Michael.
Yep. And similar to the outdoor rec plan, the HPP also includes a vision statement and also includes 5 goals, and they each have a series of action. And a distinct part of the HPP is that each action has a brief narrative associated with the action. And then the actions are assigned a time frame with potential partners in an implementation table. Permit me here to read the vision statement, as it's a little small there. But the vision statement is: Viroqua envisions a vibrant, inclusive future where our historic heritage is not only preserved, but also celebrated. We strive to create a harmonious blend of the past and present, fostering a deep appreciation for our historic resources. Through proactive preservation efforts, we aim to enhance our city's unique sense of place, promote sustainable redevelopment, and engage all community members in the stewardship of our historic resources. And for the sake of time, I did not include all the actions here, but I'm happy to speak to certain ones if you'd like. As I mentioned, 5 goals and each have a statement associated with them. The first is survey and documentation. And that statement is to maintain a comprehensive inventory and designation program for historic and cultural resources that serves as the authoritative data set for every preservation action. Goal 2, program administration and management. This one is really in the purview of the Historic Preservation Commission in particular. Develop a robust historic preservation program with updated ordinances, policies, best practices, and procedures that are integrated across city departments and further facilitate the protection and preservation of historic resources. Goal 3 is financial support and incentives. And that statement there is to encourage investment in Viroqa's historic resources through a system of grants, tax credits, and other financial tools. Goal 4, education, advocacy, and partnerships. Engage the community through ongoing research, outreach, and training that builds broad support and practical skills. And Goal 5 is community revitalization and sense of place. And that statement is to promote preservation, rehabilitation, and adaptive reuse efforts that strengthen community identity, preserve character, and drive revitalization, and use those assets as a basis for heritage tourism and economic growth. In total, I believe there are 36 actions. A couple of them might have been consolidated, and I'm happy to speak to some of those if needed. This implementation table includes a 10-year horizon. We did specify here not a priority ABC like the outdoor plan, but did specify the time ranges here, either ongoing 1 to 3 years, 4 to 7 years, and 8 to 10 years. And then the list of potential partners is there at the right column. We've had some discussion over the last couple months just to make sure those actions are fairly dialed in and it's not too front-loaded or too overwhelming in the last 3 years. I believe we did mention this is a 10-year horizon. So there's no 5-year horizon with a 10-year implementation. It's all at the 10-year horizon, which is a pretty standard practice. And with that concludes the slide. I'd be happy, along with Ashley, to answer any questions. And I sense you might be able to facilitate a little bit better than me, but yeah, feel free to take over the proverbial floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anyone have any questions?
I guess I'll steal Tanya's question for Kale. Is the HPC, the Historic Preservation Commission, are they able to meet those timeline
Yes.
requirements? Yeah.
We met yesterday afternoon to discuss just that and what do we think we can do in the 1 to 3 years and the 4 to 7 and the 8 to 10 and which one should be approached first. And we felt good about the way it's laid out, but it's something that we definitely have to keep on. But this is good. This is what we've been looking for, is some kind of a idea of what's out there, what we should be working on and a way to implement it. So it was positive from the group.
Good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Is this plan similar to the Corp that it now will allow you to apply for grants and things like that?
There
Is
was
that the
something about the
motivation?
5 years in this one too, wasn't there?
Yeah, and it's also correct, and it's also a CLG, a certified local government requirement with the State Historic Preservation Office. So Viroqa is what's known as a certified local government, a CLG community, and one of the requirements to maintain that status is to update, to have a historic preservation plan and keep it updated. So it's both and, but just wanted to provide a little bit more context on that CLG requirement. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the CLG grants are something you can apply for annually. So we'll apply for it next year to try to get a survey of the town, which is what hasn't been done now for 20 years, so.
Yeah, and I think another CLG requirement is to update your surveys every 25 to 30 years. So that was prioritized for that reason. So still time, but
Yeah.
it becomes urgent, yes. So sorry about that.
Snowman, baking cookies.
A lot of good history.
Canada Christmas is a pretty big deal. There's got to be some way I can get out of this. Just
Sorry. was just muting some. One thing I'll say, just having been a part of the historic preservation group, sitting in on their meetings, I should say, is that, and much to Cindy's credit, is she's really been trying to mobilize that group to take proactive steps, right? Really be forward thinking, looking at buildings, looking at projects before they become endangered. And I think this plan was really thoughtfully put together to, one, be feasible based on the number of resources that historic preservation does or does not have access to, right? And two, really focuses on those proactive steps and sort of gives the HPC commission sort of a path, right? This is what we're going to do. And we really hammered down on them last night about that, about saying like, okay, folks, this is what you're agreeing to do, and this is what you're going to focus on and really make strides towards. And I thought it was a really well-balanced plan and very thoughtfully put together. And I think Cindy really spearheaded it quite nicely. And we sort of got rid of, not to be dismissive of some of the ideas that Michael and Ashley had, but we really tried to pull out some ideas that, while good, we just didn't necessarily feel were where we were at right now in terms of historic preservation, I guess is maybe a fair way to say it.
The size of the community.
Given the size of the community, the resources we have, maybe the next round of plans, those are some ideas once some of the earlier stuff, more priority stuff gets taken care of. But that's just my take on it, having sort of walked through this with the group and been part of quite a few of the meetings. So
36 actions originally are now down to 32, and 10 of them are in that 1 to 3 year time frame. And I think, not to put words in your mouth, I feel like it was a mix of, let's meet the requirements we need for CLG, like having the survey, but also let's get some quick wins, which you're going to do that if you're in the 1 to 3 year time frame. So still a heavy lift, but yeah.
Clear direction now, so.
Thank you. Other questions? No, we're looking for a motion to approve the,
This is AJM, make a motion to approve the historic preservation plan.
I'll second it.
got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I'll put you in the aye column on that one. I think I called. Yeah, there's a little delay there, Seth. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, that passed. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 8 is a resolution to approve financing with state trust fund loan for Hanson project infrastructure for $3,765,000 in TID 7.
okay, before we jump over, I just want to thank Ashley and Michael for their work on this project. I think that for the most part concludes your effort on these plans. And so thank you to them both for making that happen, and we'll let Michael escape.
And
Thank you very much.
our requests and our changes and our comments and, yeah, thank you for
The
that.
pleasure is truly ours. The pleasure is ours, if I can speak for Ashley and also my family. We came to visit over the 4th, and my son Ethan knows what Dragon Park is and calls Washington Park the Chicken Park, which I believe is a apt.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, and with that, we had moved on to item 8, which is the resolution for financing. That document was sent out as part of an additional packet, if I can find it somewhere in here. Let's see, it was the STL resolution. We do have either, I think, so I will ask, actually, before I get too far ahead, our friends from Ellers, Sean and Peter specifically, who are going to speak to this item, are not quite online yet. I think we're a little ahead of schedule. So if it's okay with the group, I think we can move on to item number 9. Our friend Jim, who usually handles our investments, is here. So if we can skip that and just come back to that in a little bit, that would be great.
Sure. So we will skip 8. We'll move on now to item number 9, which is discussion with possible action and resolution to open custodial investment account with Pershing LLC, Ellers Investment Partners for TID 7 funds.
All right, Jim, you're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and put the resolution on the screen for us all. And again, this was sent out as part of like an additional attachment for your item.
Thanks so much, and thanks for having me with the group today. Sean and Peter are on the road. They're coming from another city council meeting, and I'm sure we'll be here as soon as possible. This resolution is to continue the success that we've had already in partnering with Viroqua and Ellers Investments. Currently, we have three accounts, two bond fund accounts and a general fund account. I had been doing a little bit of math prior to this. We're a little bit over 83,000 in income earned net to the city on these accounts. So we've partnered on the 2024A, the 2025B, and had opened a general funds account as well, investing for the city's benefit. We're looking at this next one would be the state trust fund loan that Sean and Peter are helping out with. And in conversations with Nate and Lori, it sounds like some of the funds will be left over and not be immediately spent. And there's a few reasons that we think that this is the right choice would be to invest these funds and have them earning as much as possible prior to them being spent, mostly in the spring and summer of next year. We've already seen one Federal Reserve interest rate cut, with more on the way that we're expecting, and the market is frankly expecting. And so we think that preserving the earning power of these dollars by locking them in to a maturity in the spring or summer, depending on what the spending schedule is looking like, is going to show some nice income for the city and help offset costs related to issuance and borrowing. Really, our goal is always for you to make the most amount of money with the least amount of risk and the least amount of work. And that's really what we've done so far, and this is a continuation of that. So I think it's been a really positive relationship so far, and we're looking to continue that. It's worth mentioning that these are at-will agreements. And so if you ever decide that it's not a good fit or for any other reason, you're not locked into any minimum fee or any minimum time frame or anything like that. And the securities are portable. So really no kind of like long-term commitment on your end. And we'll be happy to continue to try to earn your business at all times. And that's my spiel.
So I know, Tanya, this is probably new information for you. I want to make sure it's okay that you can feel okay to ask questions. Do you have any questions on the general setup here, what we've done, sort of our success rate with it? Anybody else for that matter who may have forgotten what we've been doing with these funds on the interim basis, allowing our money to earn additional money while we hold it before we spend it on the projects has been really helpful. We've made a significant amount of money in interest earnings that just goes to generally help our cash balance at this point. The process is fairly fluid. Lori and I essentially wait until the last possible moment to pull these funds in order to allow them to earn. And we usually check with the mayor when we pull the investment funds. We basically say, hey, here's where our cash balance is at. We have a big pay request coming on this particular project. We need to pull money from the funds to pay off this pay request. And the turnaround time is less than 48 hours.
Yeah, and I wanted just to point out that the reason we have a general fund account there as well is because we can take the money out of those other ones, but we can't put it back in there. So that's why we set up that general fund for any of these other ones that we wanted to gain some interest as well. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, that's a good point, Lori. There are rules associated with the bond proceeds accounts that are not effective for general funds. So really kind of the name of the game is to spend those funds down. So there are IRS regulations as a result of you borrow at a tax exempt rate, and you earn at a taxable rate, but you're not a taxable entity. And so living on the spread between taxable and tax exempt is really how we're able to maximize the return for the benefit of all stakeholders of the city.
So the only thing I'm confused about is if we're already doing it, what are we voting on today?
So there's a new account which will be established as a result of the state trust fund loan bond proceeds that will be coming in, I believe, December 1st. Let me double check.
So yeah, great question, Tanya. So because we don't want to commingle the money from the state trust fund loan, which again is the approval of this would be contingent on us approving the resolution to actually take out the state trust fund loan. So, but once we do that and we have those funds, we don't want to intermingle them with the, let's say 2025A bond proceed account that is generating revenue, because then it just, the auditors would not appreciate that, I guess is the simplest way to put it.
And who's Pershing?
Pershing is it's a custodian. It's a subsidiary of BNY Mellon, Bank of New York Mellon. It's one of the largest custodians around. And the nice thing that we like about working with them is that there's no additional cost to have accounts at Pershing. And no cost for trades or anything like that.
Good. All right. Any other questions? If not, we are looking for a motion to open up this investment account.
Again, if you are interested in passing the resolution as shown on screen, it would be contingent on us approving the state trust fund loan.
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve the resolution to open the custodial investment account with Pershing for TID 7 funds contingent on us approving the financing with the state trust fund loan.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Seth,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Todd Kirking,
Aye.
Emma,
Aye.
Todd Spaeth,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Tanya,
Aye.
and Steve.
Aye.
All right. Are they here yet, Nate? or-
Yeah, great question. I see that Peter has just jumped on. Peter, are you ready to go, or do we want to wait for Sean a little bit?
And you're muted, Peter.
I'm going to take that as they're probably not quite ready. And we can.
No, can you hear me okay?
Yep, you're good, Peter. Are you guys ready to go right now, or do you need us to do one more agenda item before circling back?
No, I think we can go right now.
Let's do it. So then we'll go back to item number 8, which is a resolution to approve financing with state trust fund loan for Hanson project infrastructure for $3,765,000 in TID 7.
All right, go ahead and take it away, Peter.
Yeah, no, thanks, Nate. Good evening. This is Peter Maydell along with Sean Lentz from Ellers. And before you, for your consideration, is the resolution application from the state trust fund loan. And essentially, this needs to be approved to continue forward in the process and secure funding with through the state for the Hanson Farm project. Essentially, you know, for the last time it presented, we talked about having interest-only payments in 27, 28, and then there was some higher payments in 29 and 30. We went back to the state and provided some options that they considered, and they came back and they were okay with interest only in 27 and 28. And then the payment is about 300 and, if I recall offhand, 370,000 in 29, and then a little bit higher in 30. So, it wasn't exactly what we asked or what we thought, but they kind of met us halfway. So we thought it was reasonable for a 10-year option.
And I just want to spend a moment to reiterate on that. So the motion that was made at council when we did this review is said we will go with the 10-year option so long as we agree to the interest only payments of 29 and 30. What we didn't conceive of is they would only do halfway. So they gave us 29, but not 30. So I said, well, that's half of what council agreed to, and I'm not sure what to do that based on their motion. But I did sort of say, since, essentially we had to bring this back to you anyway, that, okay, I think that's more in line with what council's motion was. So please move forward with the option. But I feel like they're not giving us the 2030 lower payment. They're only giving us the additional 1 year of 2029. Is that Peter and Sean? If Sean's online with you, is that in line? Am I accurate on all that?
Yeah, no, that's right. And just to reiterate, the rate for the 10-year term is 5.5% versus 6.25% for the 20-year term.
And that was part of the reason why we were really trying to keep it to the 10-year rate, is keeping those interest costs down. And again, this state trust fund loan is essentially, we're pursuing it with a strategy of refinancing it in the short future within the next, what would you guys say, 1 to 3 years or 1 to 2 years, right? So that's when we talk about interest only payments. Our intention is to refinance this fairly soon.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, that's entirely accurate. Yep. So we'll be refinancing with a revenue bond, likely in the next 3 years.
Anybody have any catch-up questions? Again, we went through this somewhat thoroughly at our marathon meeting 2 Tuesdays ago, but I know that because it was a marathon meeting, there was also a ton of other things that you had to remember to do. And so I'm not sure if this one got lost in the shuffle, but by all means, please ask. Looks like Lori has some things to add.
One thing that I do want to let you guys know after talking to the people at the state is that we are required to read this in full meeting. So if somebody wants to do that, they can, and then we have to make the motion. I tried to say we don't normally do that, but however, it has to be one of the alder people. Can't be the mayor. It has to be an alder person because I have to fill this out completely. So I just wanted to put that out there so that before you make a motion, you have to read this out loud.
I wondered what that first sentence was about.
I asked them that because it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because I thought that was who made the motion, but it's not. The person that makes the motion actually comes after this.
He said he wanted to read it.
Can I ask a question first?
Yeah, go for it.
That TID 7 project is going to help pay for this, right? Being used, I know it's going to it says it's going to finance the TID 7 projects, but then it will earn.
Right.
the money.
So I don't want to get too terribly much into what we went into at closed session, but that is part of what we went into closed session when we look at the TIF analysis.
It's kind of tired then.
Yep, no, totally understand. But it's a good question. Yes, the intention, the entire strategy of this is to buy us time, make sure we have the dollars to pay the pay requests when they come in. But as we get projects done, we sign more development agreements, buildings actually go in the ground, we'll have a much better idea of what our tax increment is within TED 7. And then at that point, we can feel much more confident in how we need to do long-term financing on this. But yes, this is intended to pay for the debt service on this. When I say it, the new buildings that will be going up in the Hanson Farm are intended to pay for this, and hopefully then some, depending on rate of build. So.
I'll just need your help.
Yep.
Moving the document. All right. For a record, the following preamble and resolutions were presented by Alderman Steve Willis and were read to the meeting by the provisions of section 24.66 of Wisconsin statutes, all municipalities may borrow money for such purposes in the manner prescribed, and by the provisions of Chapter 24 of the Wisconsin statutes, the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands of Wisconsin is authorized to make loans from the state trust funds to municipalities for such purposes. Municipality as defined by section 24.602 of the Wisconsin statutes means a town, village, city, county, public inland lake protection and rehabilitation district, town sanitary district created under section 60.71 or 60.72, metropolitan sewerage district created under section 200.05 or 200.23, joint sewerage system created under section 281.434, school district or technical college district. Therefore, be it resolved that the city of Viroqua in the counties of Vernon, Wisconsin, borrow from the trust funds of the state of Wisconsin the sum of $3,765,000 for the purpose of financing TID number 7 projects and for no other purpose. The loan is to be payable within 10 years from the 15th day of March preceding the date the loan is made. The loan will be repaid in annual installments with interest at rate of 5.50% per annum from the date of making the loan to the 15th day of March next and thereafter annually as provided by law. Resolved further that there shall be raised and there levied upon all taxable properties within the city of Viroqua and the counties of Vernon, Wisconsin, a direct annual tax for the purpose of paying interest and principal on the loan as they become due. Resolved further that no money obtained by the city of Viroqua by such loan from the state be applied or paid out for any purpose except financing TID number 7 projects without the consent of the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands. Resolved further that in the case of the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands of Wisconsin agrees to make a loan, the mayor and clerk of the city of Viroqua in the county of Vernon, Wisconsin are authorized and empowered in the name of the city to execute and deliver to the commission certificates of indebtedness in such form as required by the commission for any sum of money that may be loaned to the city pursuant to this resolution. The mayor and clerk of the city will perform all necessary actions to fully carry out the provisions of Chapter 24 Wisconsin statutes and these resolutions. Resolved further, that is preamble and the resolutions and the A and no vote, or the aye and no vote by which they were adopted be recorded, and that the clerk of the city forward this certificate or certified record along with the application for the loan to the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands of Wisconsin.
Questions? So does everybody, I mean, Nate did a good job, I think, of explaining and what we can, and the folks from Ellers, of course, are on, but is there any more questions regarding this? If not, I think we certainly can move forward.
This is AJ. I make a motion to approve the resolution financing the TID 7 project or infrastructure projects for the Hanson Farm with the state trust fund loan for $3,765,000.
Steve, I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Andrew. Todd Kirking,
Aye.
Emma,
Aye.
Todd Spade,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Tanya,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
and Seth.
Aye.
Thanks to everybody from Ellers for
And
coming.
for the record, that's resolution 025 RS 017.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 10, review and approval of landfill gas probe installation, TRC contract.
Okay, so I'm going to speak to you about Mike Emerson is also online, so I'll get started, but Mike, feel free to jump in anytime. And let me get myself set up here. Okay, so let's see, where do we want to start? Let's start by looking at what we're talking about out here. So we continue working on the landfill situation. We have had continual communication with the DNR, and our most recent one, they were very forceful in ensuring that we're meeting the code and have seen the landfill as everything I have there in red. So it's a little bit of a different conversation than when we originally started, where our focus was primarily right here by the church buildings. If you remember, we also installed monitoring here. At our meeting most recently, they said the code requires that we know the full extent of the situation and migration of the gas, and said this is also a part of your landfill and you do not have any probes here. So what our primary intent was already was to look at making sure we have our probes that go all the way around this side of the landfill on this east side that we've been focusing on, because they have been continuing to ask that we know the full extent of where everything's moving. But with this last meeting, they made it very clear that we also need to be looking at the west side. Part of why we're in this, and again, Mike, jump in whenever you feel like it, is that it's unusual, even if we have a closed landfill, to not have any monitoring wells. So one of the first things they said when they came out here was, so where are your monitoring probes? And we didn't have monitoring probes, we had gas vents. So a lot of what we face with this is that we're having, as Mike says, a code that's applied to currently regulated landfills in the manner that landfills are expected to have this infrastructure in place. And so sometimes it's challenging for us because we don't necessarily have the things that they just expect naturally for us to have already. Is that a good synopsis?
That is correct, Sarah. So they are looking at the code word for word, which is what they have to do, and are expecting this old closed landfill to be up to today's standards, even though they're in code, there's no time period that before this date you're grandfathered or anything. So they, call it let sleeping dogs lie. There's these kind of sites around the state, and unfortunately, because of the church building, this is no longer a sleeping dog, and they are looking at the code, and the code says thou shall have understand the nature and extent of gas migration around the the code says you can have gas migration beyond your property line. The fact that they have determined in one location you have gas migration beyond the property line, they want to know if you have gas migration anywhere else. And because you don't have the gas probes there, you can't say we don't. So they're basically the last call that we had. They said, that's it. You guys have not determined nature and extent. You need to do that. And they didn't say it. They said it probably harsher than final warning, but we need to install additional gas probes. And not just on what we've now started calling the East landfill, but also the West landfill.
Okay, so we were anticipating definitely that they were going to be looking at the east side. And so On-site is the drilling company that TRC had consulted or contracted with before to do our original 7 probes. So we had them do a quote for another 7. That 7 would be on the east side. So here's their proposal. It's 12,125. So that's to finish what we have, or to circumvent the east landfill. The other landfill, we have in a separate proposal because we weren't really sure, or the other landfill, the other side, that we weren't really sure what the position would be on that. And so this is an additional 15 on the other side. So there's be 14 on the east side in total in the end, 15 on the west side. And that proposal is 25,175. And I believe, Mike, you had said that based on their schedule, this would be December work.
Correct.
So, these costs are obviously accumulate, and these are the actual installations of the probes themselves. This does not include TRC being able to reply to the DNR, be on site for the probe installation, which we want them to be. So they have put together another amendment to their current contract. And so what this one has, I would say, is what Mike has sees as sort of the foreseeable work based on the conversations we've had. And there is sort of one other element that we have been talking about with Mike that is in his proposal. And that is, and make sure I'm getting this right, Mike, but this is the Hanson Farm property here. And our work that's taking place over the next year is a pond that's located right here, a stormwater pond, which has a clay liner. Good, we like clay. We want impermeable layers. We do know that there is sand that we will be getting to in this part. So while we do this excavation, Mike wants to have personnel on site so that we can see where we're digging through, making sure we like how deep our clay areas go, and possibly even putting additional clay in. This section over here is where development is happening, and we want to also install clay trenches where we can in this area as needed. So again, Mike wants people on site while we're doing this other work to make sure that we see on that property and install what's necessary, because we also know that there are sand that is occurring on this side of the property as well. And so this kind of, the work that he has in the contract overlaps just from the probes. It includes the probes, but it also includes this as well. And we can talk about this work more, but essentially we want to stay on top of what's going on in construction. And if we feel like some of the things that we did on the landfill, the rock that we still have out there, I don't know if anybody's driven out behind the church, but you'll see this big pile of rock. You'll also see our pipe out there that we didn't fully install here because we felt like we got what we could out of the approach that we took there. We may do some work on this side as well, but we don't know that yet. But we need somebody on site to see what they're seeing when they're excavating. And so when you look at this proposal, all right, just had up. Note that in large part, that is what he's looking at. Is that correct, Mike?
That is correct. So it's basically preparing a work plan to provide the DNR information on what we are doing, because that's one of the things that they, well, it's required by code, and they are saying you got to get us a plan, and they're calling it a remedial action plan. I called it a work plan. But basically, this work plan says what we're going to do, and we provide that to the agency, and they say, yep, looks good. That way they know what we're doing. They can see we're moving forward. They're in the loop, which is, although Sarah and I disagree, they feel like we're not keeping them informed. But when Sarah offered to give them more information, then that sounded like it was a little too much. So we start out with the work plan. Then we will oversee the installation of the probes, and if it can be done in conjunction, we will oversee possibly the installation of a trench and maybe some of the piping. Once everything is installed, we will do a round of gas monitoring when the probes are first installed, and then come back out and do another round subsequent to that, and then do a documentation report of everything that we have done. Submit that all to the agency, and unfortunately, that is just step one of things to come in the future, because the probes are just going to tell us if there's a problem and where that problem is. Once we identify it, then we have to resolve the problem. But until we know what that is, I can't estimate what that's going to be.
Where does this put us right now for our cost?
Yeah, did you have the total in here?
Yes.
It's
At the
somewhere.
bottom.
So this is just the consulting fee, right? This is not the construction that we did for the original contract. That was, I believe it was 230,000. I can get you that number confirmed. But this is the total for where we're at with everything we've done so far for consulting.
Can I see the map again?
Yeah.
So are the probes on the north side, are those across the road? I know we're
These ones
talking
right
about-
here,
Yeah,
those are basically the south property line of the Hanson Farm. We acquired this area. When I say we, the utilities acquired this area to put the sewer line in. So that project that we just recently did has sewer line here. So we put the probes basically just north of the sewer line. So this is city-owned property, but it is property that is off of where the fencing for the landfill is on the north.
where's the road that's gonna meet up with Walmart? Where's that?
Yeah, that is up here.
Oh, okay,
So just south of this is the Eagles property here.
okay, there's no road there then. I wondered what was happening then, okay.
Yeah.
Sarah, remind me. What is eventually planned for this area?
For the landfill?
Yeah.
It's a good question. That's what we've been working on. So originally, so what we do know, so there was, oh boy, I feel like it was 6 passive vents that had already previously been installed when the landfill was closed. And when we came in and monitored this side, there basically wasn't any gas coming out of those probes. So then we installed a trench system to try to reestablish that passive gas, because obviously doing it passively versus having it what they call an active system is significantly different, both in terms of cost and operation, right? So passive means essentially that there's like a trench filled with really porous rock that the gas would migrate to. And the idea was that we were focusing on this side here, that we could intercept the gas migrating this way. So we do have gas coming out of those vents, but it's not to the strength that we do see sometimes in the probes. So we went and we did, I would say, 2/3 of what was originally done, we were proposing. And this road here, it kind of continues in the landfill a little bit. So we hit the road like as it came into the landfill, and we didn't want to go further. So we stopped where it was. and wanted to see how that went. But we're still seeing, so we're seeing gas here, which we need to do some work in determining exactly if it's the extent of the migration versus it being from maybe outside of that fence. But we also monitored on the north side of the landfill, and we do see gas on and off here. Part of our struggles in monitoring has been seeing gas on and off. We've been seeing negative and positive pressures in the landfill. So we're trying to understand better why we don't see a consistently gas situation.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take up the council's time with catching me up on
Sorry, yeah.
the mitigation plan. I actually meant what, just in generally, is the land, are we planning to build on that land at some
The
point? Is that-
landfill itself? No. This is the Hanson property here. Obviously, there's
Right, that's
development
all
here.
up there. I was
The
just-
landfill itself will not be developed. We can use it as like a dog park or something where you don't penetrate the liner that's there. Some people use it as drone fields, or which wouldn't work because there's an airport there, but like that kind of use. But it would never be a site you want to build a house.
And this came up because there was some gas that was gotten off site. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why we're trying to stop that, because the DNR says we have to quickly.
Is there 7 more probes that have to be put in on that side of the landfill?
On the east
too?
side.
Yeah,
So yeah, we're basically gonna now have probes all around
okay.
this east side and then all around the west side. We're gonna be
Right.
on our property, so the one on the north side, we're gonna have to like sneak it in here, trying to make sure we can get, like sneak it as in like get on our property, but as far from the landfill as that we can, but yeah,
Is that the Bethel home property then?
the property to the north here, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But on the east side, there is still 7 more that have to be put in, and then 15 on the west side.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's that 12 plus 25.
And these are 2 separate dumps, yeah?
2 separate
Like city dumps, landfills, yeah.
dumps.
Because I'm
Good
presuming like
question.
one's older than
They-
the other one, right?
So they regulated it and closed it as one landfill, like under the closure plans that I have.
Okay.
And they gave it one landfill number from the DNR. What,
Correct. Sarah. It's got one number, so it's considered one site.
you can see that one side was developed first. So, and then there's a waterway, like the road essentially is where roughly the waterway always existed. So, I mean, we call them different things because they kind of like existed differently, but unfortunately, it's considered a single site.
Todd, were you dumping on both sides when you were, how did that work?
No, the west sides were when I was there. The east side was filled up before I started.
So is there like the same remediation that we did in the east side? Is there a possibility that we'd have to do the same on the west side?
Yeah, so we're not even done our remediation on the east side,
Well,
right?
correct,
Yeah.
right.
And we could, and we probably will end up having to do some sort of like create, what they say, active, like not just letting it vent, but like creating more suction. But yeah, Mike might be the best to answer these questions. We do see the vents working on the west side.
I think based on, so one of the things where the 3 little blue dots are by the church building, one of the things I would like to do is dig a hole there. Because it's not acting like it should. And I know I haven't wanted to find out, but I want to see if there's waste outside that red line. Because if there's waste outside that red line, trying to do something within that red line isn't gonna necessarily solve our problem. So at least the majority of the rest of the landfill is, bounded by the trees to the south, the road to the west, the ravine to the east and north. Same thing with the west landfill. That's kind of bounded by the ditch or ravine on the east and south, and then the tree line. And then the farm field property line there, that's a little iffy where the limits are, but determining where there's gas, determining where there's waste, and then we may need to go to an active system where we're actually pulling a very strong vacuum on the landfill so that we're pulling the gas to points and away from the property line, which is what we've been trying to avoid, but the DNR is not giving us the time necessary to resolve the issue. We're getting pushed to move forward more aggressively. So once we find out what's going on all the way around, then there'll be another discussion with the DNR and a discussion of our next steps.
Thank you. So total, are we going to do this in multiple approvals? Or are you looking do you have a total that they can?
It's 88,000 in total.
So you need-
How it ended up exactly that, I don't know, but that's what it is. But that would be to do the probes on both sides, the remaining, so that the 7 plus the 15 plus TRC's additional contract amount.
That includes monitoring, or I guess supervision of the work on the Hanson farm itself.
Mike?
It includes up to 2 days, I think I've got in there.
So when they
So-
go or doing grading, especially for that, where that future stormwater pond will be, he sort of touched on that. That's included within that bill, correct?
You said there's 2 days.
2 days.
All right.
Yeah.
Cindy, I make a motion, we approve the landfill gas probe installation and all those other things that you said for $88,000. I know you need more specific words than that, huh?
I can add each one individually in there to the total of 88,000,
Thank you.
if that works for you.
Todd, I second the motion.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I just have a question. Are there any other costs associated with those probes as far as like a daily maintenance or daily? Are they solar operated? Are they?
So there's basically like a PVC pipe stuck in the ground essentially. And what we've been doing with them so far is that's what I've been out there with the guys doing.
Okay.
We've been sampling. We have the monitoring device, which we're renting. And Mike has got time in there to work on them to a certain extent. And, our work is just, we have this monitoring equipment here. We want to get as much information as possible. So that's what we've been doing on it.
Yes, this, for the most part, and there's always something miscellaneous, but this should cover the installation once they're in. The city will supply locks. And then it's just a matter of, they will be going forward. The DNR is gonna request a gas monitoring plan be developed, which will probably say that you have to monitor these quarterly and report that information. I don't know if they're gonna request annual report or a quarterly report, maybe the first 2 years quarterly and then annual thereafter. But there's gotta be some other mechanism that's controlling the gas, but that's one of the things that'll come once we get the probes in. There's not maintenance on them or operational cost. It's just basically now they're there and you're gonna have to, into the very long future, have to be monitoring those probes.
One more question. the initial problem was that that church property had high levels of methane or too high a level.
Low.
Has that been resolved or is that still happening?
So it was that MG&E had gone in and did a leak detection survey. So like no one from the church had called us smelling something or anything like that. It was, they found it because that's the kind of thing they're looking for too. And then at that time there were like 0.5, so a low level found in the building. But we do have 2 continuous probes in there. That's the fire chief has got them and was working with them. And we've since done a lot of things to try to relieve that, even just outside the building. And so since that time, we have not had any gas readings in the building.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Other questions? Roll call, please.
Ty Kirking,
Aye.
Emma,
Aye.
Pat Spaeth,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Tanya,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
Andrew.
Aye.
All right, item number 11, review and approval of pay request number 4 for Center Avenue project.
Okay, so Badger submitted this one quickly because of our meeting schedule and also the fact that they had a large bill from Matthew to do the paving. So essentially, that's more or less what you see in this contract is road building for the 2 blocks off or north of Decker and the asphalt. I can get more into it, but that's really the simple explanation of it. So current payment due is the 109,441.51.
This is AJ. Make a motion to approve pay request number 4 for the Center Avenue project, the total of $109,441.51.
Todd will second it.
All right, got a motion, a second. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Emma,
Aye.
Pat Spaeth,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Tanya,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
Andrew.
Aye.
Pat Kirking.
Aye.
All right, item number 12, review and approval of pay request number 3 for the salt shed project.
Okay, so save the retainage. This is the final payment for, or the final amount for the salt shed, which is essentially, this is a pretty straightforward bid sheet. There's not a lot to it. It's a pretty straightforward building. So this is 100%, meaning everything's in and they're charging for the full amount. Like I said, this would be the final total, except the fact that we're still holding on to the retainage. For the most part, they've done the punch list. They came back and did a lot of it, but we just haven't confirmed all of that yet. So what we're looking for here is the 154,850 for pay request 3, I believe it was. Yeah.
This is Todd. I move to approve the pay request for the salt shed project for $154,850.
This is John, I second.
Got a motion, a second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Pat Spaeth,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Tanya,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
Andrew.
Aye.
Pat Kirking,
Aye.
and Emma.
Aye.
Shut it off. Item number 13, discussion with possible action, state municipal financial agreement from DOT regarding Main and County BB intersection upgrades.
Okay, so earlier this year, we were given notice that we got the HISSUP funding, or that there was HISSUP funding that was going to be coming from the DOT for the Walmart intersection. And they said, and you also got approved for Main Street and County BB. And I thought, what on earth for? Because that was not on my radar. And so that is part of the reason why this one did not come forward as quickly, because we just needed some time to put our head around the project and also figure out like when funding might come. Because the original plan was for them to start this year. And they're like, well, it's just $60,000. And I thought, wow, okay, we don't necessarily just have $60,000 in our budget that's unspent. Nonetheless, what is happening here is they picked up our intersection here in an effort to identify intersections where left-hand turn lanes don't line up in a what they call a positive or a negative line with the left-hand turn lane that's above it. So just, I probably should have done this earlier, but like this is the median on this side and this is the median on this side, which means like when you're coming down here and you're turning left here, there's traffic that's turning left here that's like not lined up with you. So you're actually like having to look around the people that are turning left in order to see if you can turn left. That's called a negative offset for a left-hand turn lane. And so we were just one of many intersections that got identified in Vernon County that is like this, or the region, so it would be like La Crosse area. And they put them all together in one big project, put them into the HISIP program, and they're like, okay, now we can fund these. And so that's why we had less understanding of what was happening, just because we just got pooled in with a bunch of other communities. So essentially what they want to do is, and they're in the process of starting the idea. So like they haven't done this yet, because one of the things we did was say, hold on, we are not ready to start giving you money, because essentially what this would be is we pay 25% of the design and then they pay 100% of the construction. So our costs come at the front end of the project. So we slowed them down and they agreed to start the work in 2027. So we wouldn't be seeing anything coming our way until 2027. And it probably would be like 27, 28. We probably wouldn't see our portion of it. Like, it's not like they're going to just write a check or write an invoice for us for $60,000 just one day, right? It's like we see engineering bills happen. So what they want to do is realign these left-hand turn lanes. Essentially, these medians would be really tiny, not like they are now. And when they do that, these signals that exist in the medians don't have anywhere to be anymore. So what they're doing then is what they call a monotube. So you basically, it's like, well, you know, you got one big tube on the side and this giant tube that goes across the top, and all of the lights are sitting on top of the lanes in that format. So it seems relatively simple, right? Small project, but it's a DOT project. And so here's their proposal to us. So this is what they call a state municipal financial agreement. So, and it does, the nice thing is it does explain what they've seen. So it says, you know, we're a connecting highway. It's a major I can never say that word. Nate, help. Arterial. Thank you. I always want to say another word. Anyway, basically it is signalized and has a negatively offset left turn lanes. 19 crashes of varying types were reported in a 5-year analysis period, with 7 resulting in injury. And there are definitely way more when there's an actual injury in an accident. So essentially this got put forward like locations of interest report, right? And so essentially what I explained is what they want to do. And so they come up with a total project cost of $1.8 million. There obviously is work in the roadway itself that needs to be adjusted. But yes, that's what they come up with. The one thing I will say that is really nice out of this project is that we know that our signal box, the controllers that are up there, is outdated and it's already needs to be replaced. So in this project, they will fully replace all of that, which is, I would say, a significant part of what we would already pay anyway. So what they're coming out of that project is that they will pay for 1.759 of it, and we would pay 25% of the preliminary engineering, which is it's just less than it's 58,300 or 59,300. And then they have $1,000 in there for like if we need to make any adjustments to our water valve or something like that, that would be our responsibility. So they just threw a number in there. We did look at it, like it might just have to be adjusted, but it's not anything particularly problematic. So what they're asking for us is to sign on to doing the project. It is a fully executed DOT executed project, which means I don't have to worry about bidding it out. I don't have to worry about all of the pay requests. They just literally send us invoices over time for this design fee. So it would be very similar to when we did the two-way left-hand turn lane where we didn't let out the project. And I would say I would much prefer that. My experience is even when we get to let it out, we don't really have any control over it anyway. So it's kind of more of a procedural thing. So I think that it makes sense to go forward with the project. I mean, they clearly have identified accidents happening at the intersection.
Does this just fix the north-south intersection, not the east-west
There would
intersection?
so the adjustment, they are not 100% sure if they will replace, all right, where am I? If they're going to replace the signals on this side or not. They are going to replace these, and they're going to move the lanes here and here, but they are not moving the lanes here and here.
Are they sure that those weren't the reasons why the accidents were happening?
Well, I have not gone through the accident report.
Okay.
But the traffic count on this is just so much higher. Yeah. So I will say that the design's not done. They would allow us to make recommendations about things along the process, but if it costs more than their estimate, they're going to come and say, well, sure, we'll do it. Now it's your contribution, right? But I think that, like I said, going back to the idea that of our costs that we're putting in and the fact that we're getting a full cabinet, that's probably half of it right there. So, and again, we're looking at 27, 28 timeframe for that 60,000.
Thank you, Sarah. So we are looking for a motion to approve the 60,300. Is that correct?
Right. Basically, they want us to sign this agreement.
Yeah, to approve the agreement.
And that's a committing to spending that.
I'll make a motion, we approve the SMFA from the DOT regarding the Main and County BB intersection upgrades to 60,300.
AJ, I'll second.
Got a motion, a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Cindy,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Tanya,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Pat Gerke,
Aye.
Emma,
Aye.
Pat Spaeth.
Aye.
All right, item number 14. We're going to take a break in 2 agenda items, just so everybody knows. I apologize, but item number 14 is ordinance repealing chapter 2.30 of the municipal code regarding health officer. This is the first reading.
You need to talk about it?
We have had this ordinance on the books for quite a while. And when looking at the budget, we found that we've been paying a public health officer $40 a month for a very long time. And we actually don't have to by statute. So we are recommending that this one be abolished, and we have stopped paying the $40 a month and are saving now that $40 a month. But there's no point because of the state statutes don't require the city to have a separate one. We're using the county. So that's basically what this is doing. And I would recommend you waive the second reading if you do decide to do this.
Where was the payment going to then?
Yeah,
Dr.
so
Hicks, that was our.
and maybe Chad can help out with this, but when I came in 2019, I asked about this Board of Health, and it was explained to me as like, oh, this is our representative on the Board of Health, and we pay this person. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then over time, there just wasn't there wasn't a continual need for this. I think the last time we actually had an issue was on the Fortney prior to obviously the Robles taking it over when it was under the previous owners. And at that point, Chad had brought in the county health supervisor. I don't know what his official title was. And in my head, I always linked, I'm like, oh, that's our Board of Health money sort of oversees this gentleman. And then he comes out and he does this thing and that's what we're paying for. Turns out that's not how it works. And we were using the county person instead of this Board of Health mechanism that had sort of just been antiquated, outdated, and we evolved past. And there just wasn't an understanding as it passed from John to myself, like things just evolved. And $500 annually is not an insignificant amount of money, but when you look at the budget overall, it's not the first thing that I'm like, oh, how can we save money? Let's look at this $40 bill. And so finally we've caught up to it. Is like, what is that? And I forgot how it came to be. Maybe it was this budget.
When we're going to do this ordinance project,
Yeah.
and this is one of the things that
Yeah.
we've been working on. And Stephanie basically said that since 1985, I think it is, we've not had to have this per statute. So we're finally catching up from 1985.
But I don't know because when we talked to Tony, he had done work before. So it's not like we had not used him as a resource. It's just that, I don't know, maybe Chad can explain it more. We just, again, evolved past going with that particular resource as our go-to.
Right. For years, we had a local doctor that the city was paying to have on staff essentially to deal with health code issues, right? And he'd referenced one of them. And they were used in the past. Simple questions, guidance, whatever it might be. Sometimes it might even be an order of some sort. But since I've been involved, I guess quite, as chief, we started utilizing the health department. I don't know when they started, but they have kind of a regional person that is more in depth on those types of issues or whatever. And so we started reaching out to that individual to help us with larger issues, let's say. And just little by little, we quit using the local doctor. So that money has been going to a local doctor for years and years and years, different doctors over time. And again, we have gotten something for our money at times, but recently it just doesn't make sense, right? It's not required. We can get it locally through the county for zero cost. So I don't know if that helps a little bit or not, but.
And we have stopped the payments here as of November, so we wanted to do the ordinance at the same time. So
Yep.
it coincides for future generations as to what happened.
This is Todd. I make a motion to repeal the ordinance, chapter 2.30 of the municipal code regarding health officer, first and second reading.
This is John. I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? I was waiting, trying to give him a chance. All right, item number 15, payment of the bills.
Make a motion, we pay the bills.
I'll second it.
Got a motion, a second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
John,
Aye.
Tanya,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Seth,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Todd Kirking,
Aye.
Emma,
Aye.
Todd Spath,
Aye.
and Cindy.
Aye.
We're going to take a break here in a second, but the next agenda item is a closed session. So I am going to move the public comment up till right now. So if any members of the public, I know we have somebody on in-house here, if you'd like to make a comment, now would be a time. Otherwise, you're welcome to stick around till after the closed session, but you certainly don't have to. Not to put you on the spot. Not to put you on the spot. So if you don't want to, yeah, if you'd like to make a public comment, I'll give you the opportunity. Sure. Can you step up to the mic there? Sorry. Just state your name, address, and we'll try to keep it to about 3 minutes. And just so you know, in public comment, we can't engage. So if you ask a question, we can't answer it, but we'll be aware that you're curious. Can you press the person on your mic there?
Name's Dave Bankus, and I have a house on Lytton. But it goes back to the we'll call it 4 million for the Hanson improvement. that money is being spent to do road underground improvements and stuff for that reason?
So like I said, we can't engage during public comment, but you certainly we can catch up with you afterwards if you let us know what you're.
Well, that's basically what the question is. I'm curious what all that money, if you're paying for the underground water, sewer, road improvements, surveying the lots, that type of stuff, if that's what that money's headed to.
I can get your contact information and follow up with you if you'd like and give you a very detailed explanation of that, but I just can't in public comment.
You just choose not to comment on it?
No, not at all. In public comment, the council's not allowed to engage with
Okay.
per council rules, but I'm happy
Uh,
to comment with you off, and we've talked about it in other meetings. So Nate, do you have a?
Yeah, my name is Nate Torres. I'm a city administrator. I'd be happy to walk through. We have bids that show exactly what all that money's for. Again, per the rules of a council, we cannot engage in conversation
So-
that it's not on the agenda.
Okay.
It's just, it's one of the things
It's
that
an
people
easy
make.
question, and I understand why you're doing what you are. But generally, stuff like that is done by the builder. If it's a big corporation coming in to put in apartments, houses, and all of that, that's always covered by the builder. The builder pays for all of that. And they recoup it when they sell the projects off.
To that point, I guess I would, if you go back to our previous council meetings, we've talked about this in
Okay,
depth.
how far back do I have to go to collect that information?
Sure. It's on the YouTube. The city has a YouTube channel that has all of our meetings have been recorded and placed on YouTube. And I'd have to look back through the minutes. But again, if I'd be happy to get your name and number and contact you and maybe help walk through it. Again, this isn't, the council rules don't allow for engaged conversation during
All
public
right.
comment, but I'd love to answer your questions.
I'd be curious to see what it is.
Sure. Yep. So I'll get it. We're going to take a break now. I'll grab your name and number and we'll be in touch. With that, we'll take a quick break.
We have a couple more people online. Anybody else online like to make a public comment? I think you're good, Mayor.
Sounds good. All right, we'll be back. All right.
Yeah, maybe that was.
All right, we're going to get back at it so we can get out of here at a reasonable hour this evening. Much better than 2 weeks ago. So not yet. We're close. We're moving on to item number 16, which is a possible closed session per Wisconsin statute 1985 1E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Joe Gunderson, Hanson Farm Multifamily Development and Viroqua Business Park Projects.
Make a motion to go into closed.
Hold on a second. Nate,
Nope.
you want to make should we
Yeah.
move?
So, sorry, I should always preface this that like it's a possible closed session. And so I'd like to start an open session and it's maybe you guys want to go into closed session. I'll leave that up to you. But let me just, if it's okay with everybody, I'll start. So, Joe has two projects that he's working on, one on the Hanson Farm, which is a multifamily one, which this group council has reviewed preliminary. We don't have that development agreement at all ready for us to review. You'll notice that it wasn't sent out as part of your packet. We're still working through that, and we kind of discussed some of this in closed session. The project that was sent out to you is the project that he would like to do out in the Viroqua Business Park. That project has been tossed around amongst the VDA and then also went to the Viroqua Business Park Commission, which for those of you who were on a long time ago, Cindy's and John's and Tanya's of the world, remember that the Viroqua Business Park Commission is sort of that group that is a joint effort between the county to review projects going in that business park, because that business park was a county city venture. They loved the project that you're looking at and sent it to the council or send it back to VDA and said, yep, continue working on it. No need to come back to us. and asked for further permission because we understand sort of time is of the essence with this project, and said, let's fast track it and get it to council. So that's where it's at today. I will note, though, that I have talked to Joe, in the development agreement draft that I sent to you is still being worked on. He has a lawyer involved and would like to submit some revisions to us, but we have not seen them yet. And unfortunately, by getting his lawyer involved, which I'm not saying he shouldn't, because these developers on these sides of projects should have their own legal counsel. It's just the lawyer has not been as responsive as either we or Joe have hoped, and so we don't have anything to really contemplate. So therefore, going into closed session, there's not a lot to discuss because we don't have sort of a counter proposal from Joe on the development agreement. Okay. But in the interest of let's keep this project moving forward, because Joe is very excited about this project, wants the project to move forward. He did ask that I review the project plan with you so that he could solicit feedback from the council over the project overall, and that he could be prepared to respond to those questions, concerns otherwise at the following council meeting. And that's part of the reason why I wasn't here, is that he did have other obligations, but he really did want to know what you folks thought about it. And again, just I think the more feedback we can get him, the more prepared we can be at the future council meeting to take action potentially. So with that, I would like to talk about this portion in open session. Again, if you want to talk about some things that are closed session related, I'll let you know if we should cease the conversation and wait till closed session. Questions, comments so far? Okay.
I think it's great that there's another business going into that business park. I mean, hopefully that's kind of the push down the hill that we may need to get more people in it. So I think it's great.
Gonna show us where exactly on the park? It's
Yeah.
gonna be?
So here, this. Yeah. So this was submitted. He's working with Darren Byer out of Westby, who is also gentleman who put together the plans for Chad Olson's recent project. And Darren always does a nice job of understanding what it is we need to see to get comfortable with a project and be able to deliver that in a succinct project package. So it is the property of land just south of that road, which is called Vernon Parkway. And he's looking at about a little less than 4 acres there. So not the entire parcel that is showing up on the GS map. It's quite a bit less than that. I think it's a 6-acre parcel, and he wants about 2/3 of it. Okay. His project is actually 2 components. One is a shop / showroom, or I guess you could call it a showroom / shop, that is on the eastern side of the property. And then a multi-tenant retail space would be on the western half, and that would serve as the frontage. Per the zoning for this property, what we're really trying to do in the Viroqua Business Park is keep commercial retail up front towards frontage and have more light industrial to the east. And I think Joe's project does a nice job of meeting that. His showroom is, as you'll see when I move on, very similar in sort of style, although this is the structural plan. I'm just going to skip to the renderings. You can sort of see how the project is very similar in sort of concept to the Ford store to the north, where you have a showroom in front that's very nicely done, opportunity for people to come in and check things out, talk with tradespeople or sales individuals. And then in the back is where they have a lot of their materials, right? Their stored materials or whatever it needs to be, that needs to have loading zones and stuff. So very similar in concept to what the back of house and front of house is. And then that is the impetus for him wanting to move right away, which you saw by the project schedule, is that he's looking to get going on this. If he can start moving things around in 2025, great, but he's really trying to have construction done by next year. I think so far it says, I think like a fall opening of 2026 is what I saw.
For both the retail space, or just the showroom shop?
Just the showroom and shop. So you can see here that he's talking about a completion of the showroom shop in 2026. and he's looking at a 27 or later for the upfront retail space. So this is going to be a phased approach to the project, but we are looking, as you saw in like the preliminary development agreement, to sell the entirety of the land right away. And as long as there are construction timelines met, great. But if we ever get into a situation where he's just not moving on to the city, would have the option to sort of claw back the portion of the land that hasn't been developed. So we build in security in that, but again, we'll talk about the development agreement as a whole at a later date. But overall, that you're kind of seeing what he's provided in the package is really, this section is really fleshed out, where the frontage, we would be willing to take more of a, let's see how this goes. But he would have to come forward in the future with, what is the plan? What is it going to look like? We would have to approve that design as well. Okay.
Is he not already doing work on his existing building?
He
So
does.
the Quick Trip there?
The Quick Trip stuff?
No.
Spanky's.
Right. The old Ford store
Yeah.
still belongs
Oh,
to
okay.
Felton
Thank-
Properties.
Oh, okay. I thought that was Joe doing that. My bad.
And that's essentially set the impetus for him really wanting to move on this, his own space, is because he's going to be a business without a space in the near future.
Appreciate the clarification.
Sorry, where's the acreage that he's not buying on this map? Is it to the south? Okay.
South. So you can sort of see it here. This section generally here, and then you can't see the southern property line was already CSM'd out. And so what he did originally put in for this entire piece of property, and the response from the VDA is like, well, we typically don't sell more property than what a project truly needs, because we're looking for the highest and best use and things like that. And so he sort of tightened it up and said, okay, I could do 4 out of the 6 acres and I can make this happen. Or like, that seems like the right size for your project. And so the thought here is that another business could come in here and purchase this and do something as well.
Wasn't there talk of a hotel in where Gunderson's talking now?
It was to the south.
Oh, it was.
So they were looking at being
There.
adjacent to the current hotel, if that makes sense.
American? Yeah.
The American, yeah. So I'll pull up the GIS map here. So this is interesting because here the project's still under construction, right? And magically, through the powers of GIS mapping, right? So this is the parcel that Joe's talking about again, the northern 4 acres of this parcel. And then this property down here is what the hotel was looking at, because they felt like it was the right space, being approximate to the nearby. There's sort of the agglomeration effect that comes with some of these types of hotel properties. And so they were looking at this. And again, this frontage acre is really what we had dedicated towards commercial retail. And I think Joe's project, actually both buildings, does a very good job of commercial retail. The back part of it becomes a little bit more light industrial with some of, if he's talking like fabrication or storage of materials. But again, just to answer your question, Cindy, I don't think he's competing with where the hotel would go.
Thank you.
Okay. Back to the plan then is really, you folks had an opportunity, I think, to review this overnight. I don't know if there's any parts of it you would like questions or clarifications on. Again, they've done a nice job of providing footprints, or I'm sorry, floor plans. You can see here that the showroom portion will be a 2-story building. Front elevations, southern elevations, eastern elevations, I'm sorry, west and eastern elevations. This will be the portion of the building abutting the road that goes north-south through the property. So behind him will be a series of additional future buildings. I'm not part of this project, of course, but future developers. And so one of the things that we just need to be thoughtful of this facade is also an important facade. Even though it's back of house, it's an important facade as well. But again, it's not wholly different than what Spanky has done. So making sure he has some signage back there, landscaping plan, not included as part of this proposal package, but would be something we approve later. So having some trees or, nice native plantings, whatever we want. Darren understands what we're looking for, and so does Joe generally. And VDA has really sort of beat that drum with him a little bit of native plantings, stormwater management, so on and so forth.
How about the dark sky lighting? Wasn't that part of the plans originally? I mean, when the whole development? Something about parking lots and things. You were part of that, weren't you, Tony? Wasn't there something about the lighting and the?
I'd have to go back. I mean, certainly what's in zoning is what he's obligated to meet. Within the Viroqua Business Park, there was also like design guidelines or recommendations where it's like, hey, these aren't required, but we would love to see these. And so like that's been made available to him too. And like generally the VDA is aware of those and things like that. And so again, if there's more of that you would like to see, that's the sort of input Joe is looking for.
I think we should encourage things like that. Tanya knows
Yeah,
more
I
about what
mean,
it was.
isn't that what the Business Park Commission, what'd you call it? I can't remember what it was called. The Business Park Commission?
Yeah.
They had that rubric that we created a long time ago, and that's what they use to evaluate properties for, and I don't know where things stand in the conversation with him about I think we had occasionally, I don't know if this is open session conversation or closed session conversation, actually. But how much, TID assistance, you could be rewarded for achieving more of the guidelines is what I remember. And I don't know where those conversations stand.
Yeah, certainly on the Viroqua Business Park Commission, I think it's found itself in a situation where we know we need development. Park's been fairly stagnant. Not that I think it's important to remember as a city that we have certainly been doing economic development. It's just been located in other parts of the city, not the business park. So I think we've been successful on that, but they understand the business park needs to fill up too. We had some goals in mind. I think that commission has identified that they are in some ways duplicative to what the VDA is doing. So they didn't really say hey, if you want our opinion, this is great. I think you need to move it forward and let the VDA run with it, and you have our blessing on it. But when we asked them that we did bring up the matrix is what it was called, and said yeah, we're going to compare this against that as well and bring it forward when we talk about our decision making, so the county can feel confident that the VDA and the council is going to make a decision based on sort of the criteria that they had agreed to. It's not here today because we're not at the position of action today, but I will have that available, and that is a closed session item when we talk about the overall attractiveness of a project. So I'll have that for the next meeting.
I will say that I think that the building design looks great. I appreciate that. It's a nice looking building. I like the shed roof.
I think my only input, and you touched on it, I think, is that the back of it that faces that road, just making sure that whatever goes in there is somewhat appealing visually. I mean, because it is on, right. And I know, the Ford store on the back end has a couple big doors, and I think that helps kind of break it up. This particular wall being that it has a service door and one overhead door, I think if there's not signage or something on it, could get maybe just a big blank thing. So I guess if he's looking for recommendations, that would be just to make sure that being somewhat attractive generally would help, or I'd prefer that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think it's outstanding.
Yeah, I think planting trees goes a long way to making a big ugly wall. I'm not saying it's ugly, but just making a big blank wall look good, and that's an easy fix. I appreciate like what Aldi did around their building. It looks beautiful, and what they're doing by what Spanky's doing at the Verizon, like planting that tree on the corner. It's gonna look great when it's all done. So.
Anything else? Any other pieces of feedback? Nope. Okay. Well, I'll follow with Joe. It sounds like generally he's very much in the right ballpark. Stuff about that was in the matrix, reinforcing design guidelines, bringing some of that stuff up. I'll have the matrix at the next meeting, and then I'll talk to him about just maybe adding a little bit more to the east elevation. Maybe not necessarily a ton, but just saying like, if we can get him to commit to signage, one, back there, and he's gonna want to sign the back of his building. And two, the landscaping plan,
Right.
just reiterating, like, if you can get some good landscaping back there, that sort of
Softens.
softens, adds some dimensionality back there.
Yeah.
I think
I think
sounds
Tiny's
like
right.
what
I
we-
think trees would go a long way too. I mean,
trees, planting,
whatever,
shrubs, whatever, yeah.
whatever it is, just something.
Okay.
Anything to minimize the look of a warehouse.
Being street frontage, it's just,
And the zoning makes sense because anything on the other side of the road that will be facing the back of that is intended to be sort of like a light industrial sort of concept. So those folks will also probably have somewhat similar buildings where they're going to maybe have a nice office storefront, but then a larger, more functional area where they're doing fabrication or assembly or whatever it may be. So we're trying to be thoughtful about neighbors, and I think this gets there.
any other thoughts? Otherwise, it's really it for that one, isn't it?
That's it for now. Yep.
All right. If there's nothing else, we'll move on to adjournment.
Gotta make a motion to adjourn.
Say jail second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
I was right on.
Right on the money?
52, and it's 8:52.
You're
Called
welcome.
it
Yeah.
On the dot.
Yeah, well, I'm always looking out for you.
And I win for the year because I had already lost for the year. Do you want to do some signatures?
I suppose.